In 1984, I was a 22-year-old college student. One night, someone broke into my apartment, put a knife in my throat, and he raped me. During the ordeal, I studied every single detail on his face because I was confident, should I be allowed to see the next day, that I was going to make sure he was put in prison and he was going to rot. I went down to the police station. I did a composite drawing. Several days later, I did a physical lineup, and I identified my attacker. And I knew who he was. I was confident I had picked the right guy, and he was going to go to jail. And if there was a death penalty, I would be there to pull the plug. We went to court. I stood on the witness stand, and I put my hand on the Bible, and I swore that I would tell the truth. And I did. And Ronald Cotton was sentenced to prison for life. And it was the happiest day of my life. Ronald Cotton was never going to get out. He was never going to hurt another woman. And he served until 1995 when DNA became available. And I was asked to take a blood test. The DNA test came back. And the detective and the district attorney told me, Ronald Cotton didn't rape you. It was Bobby Poole, the man I had never seen before in my life. The man who was inches from my face with a knife to my throat. Ronald Cotton was released after 11 years. He and I are the same age. During those 11 years, I had gone on. I had been married. I was a mommy. Ronald Cotton didn't get to do that. Ronald Cotton is married now, and he's a daddy. And Ronald's my friend. I'm here to tell you that eyewitnesses can make mistakes.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Conversations with Cogee. I'm your host, Cogee. Hey, this is our third hour. This is a very, very powerful hour. I've been getting a lot of texts right now. A lot of people have been telling me they love the interview with Ronald Cotton a minute ago, how he has a great heart. A lot of people's like, wow, just the way he forgave. I don't know how he could do that. I mean, it's like 50-50 with the way people are texting me right now and writing right now. But, you know, we're going to get to hear another side from Jennifer Thompson. She'll be coming in a minute, and she's going to get to tell her version. You know what I'm saying? So remember, everybody, it's two sides to every story, even though the guy was, you know, he was dismissed on DNA. But we also got to remember, she's a woman that got raped. You know what I'm saying? So we'll get to hear her mental state and what she was in and what she was going through. But first, let me go to my team real quick. Miss Peaches, what did you think about Ronald's story, and what did you think about him as a person?
Well, his story is amazing and just one of so very many that he just was done wrong all the way around the board. And the one thing I'd like to say about him as a person, he has a huge heart. He is a very gracious, humble, loving person, and I think everybody can learn a lot from him.
Yeah, you're definitely right. He lost a lot of his lifetime, definitely. So let's do this. Big Blaze, talk to me. What you think about my man Ronald, and what you think about that last hour?
Last hour was powerful. I mean, it got a chance to really reflect how, you know, whether circumstances are on your side or not, you just have to go with them. I mean, me personally, I don't agree with the way the justice system handles things and not really compensating people who lost most of their lives. You know, it's not a new case. You know, there was something on the news out here where a man spent 35 years in prison for something he didn't, you know, do. 35 years, you know what I mean? I'm thinking to myself, it's one of those things where you can't stop thinking about it. I mean, it's like, what do they get for compensation for losing their lives? You know what I mean? And everybody can sit back and say, you know, forgiveness and all of this type of stuff is important, but it doesn't get over the fact that they had to face some of the most horrific circumstances for nothing.
Right.
For nothing. Because somebody felt the need to point the finger at them, and turns out nothing even happened. Like, that's what I'm saying. There has to be some type of repercussion to help set things, you know, a little bit better than what they are, rather than creating continuous instabilities in society like this.
Yeah. Hold on. All right, hold on 1 minute. Alan, man, how you doing today, my brother?
Hey, what's up, Cogee?
You got it, man. What did you think about, you know, the last hour, and what did you think about my man Ronald Cotton and his whole situation?
Last hour was electrifying, man. That young man, he's better than me. I don't think I could be that calm and subtle. You know, I don't care what you do. There's no compensation for taking away that much of your life. For taking away 24 hours of your life, you cannot compensate for that because you can never get that back.
Yeah.
Nope. You know, I mean, you can't turn back the hands of time. You know.
Right.
Keeps going forward.
Right. So, go ahead.
So there's no compensation that could ever make up for that time.
Right. I agree with that part about the time. But like I said, we're going to be bringing, in a few minutes, we're going to be bringing Miss Jennifer Thompson in. And when we bring her in, I want all of us, y'all know, hey, we're a classy show. We're about respect. We're about love. We're about hearing the truth. But we're about also seeking justice. You know what I'm saying? And that's what she's also helping Ronald to do right now. That's what she's doing right now to help other people who's been falsely accused. So she's done turned the whole situation around. So when I bring her in, I want everybody to have the utmost respect. Everybody we're a class act on this show. So let's keep being a class act. No matter what we feel or what we think, there's a way of asking somebody questions without coming at them. So I hope all y'all please follow that whole situation, and let's keep being a class act show that we are. All right?
No problem.
All right. So check us out. This is what we're going to do. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back with Miss Jennifer Thompson. You don't want to miss her story. Hey, it's deep, but like I said, you got to remember the frame of mind she was in, and she's going to break it all down to us. And like I said, we all make mistakes, you know what I'm saying? But she is definitely fighting right now to help other people overcome it. All right? So, hey, it's all about love on this show. We'll be right back. Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm back. Okay, this is the third hour right here. Show title, I've been falsely accused. And believe me, we done heard some stories today. Some real stories. But, like I said, I know that one with Ronald Cotton. It really just had a lot of people ticked off. And like I said, we get ready to hear both sides of the story. I got Miss Jennifer Thompson. She'll be coming in a second. But like I said, I want to go around the board and tell my whole crew, I want everybody to listen, everybody to have respect, and it's a way that we ask the questions, okay? And that's the way you'll get the best answers out, I guess. You know what I'm saying? It ain't to make them mad. Always remember, this ain't Jerry Springer, y'all. It's already been a Jerry Springer show. This ain't that. This is about love, redemption, moving forward. We're coming up with solutions. At the end of the show and at the end of the day, we always want people to walk away with knowledge, but can't wait to hear my next show because it's great information, great entertainment, great conversation, and that's what it's about. So like I said, if you can't do it for me, if you can't do it for the show, please do it for me and have the utmost respect, and let's keep in a classy show. So Miss Peaches, please introduce Miss Jennifer Thompson.
Okay, we have Miss Jennifer Thompson-Cannino, a native of North Carolina and a mother of teenage triplets, has been an outspoken opponent of the death penalty and speaks frequently about the need for judicial reform. Her strong convictions were born of a brutal rape she suffered as a 22-year-old college student. It was her compelling testimony in that case that sent the young man Ronald Cotton that we had on the last hour to prison not once but twice for a crime he did not commit. That man, Ronald Cotton, was eventually freed thanks in large part to his persistence in proclaiming his innocence and the development of sophisticated DNA tests. Together, they successfully lobbied state legislators to change compensation laws for the wrongly convicted. She is now a member of the Actual Innocence Commission, a member of the Advisory Committee for Active Voices, a member of the Constitution Project, and Mothers for Justice. In the true and inspiring story, Picking Cotton, Jennifer and Ronald offer an unprecedented first-person glimpse into what happens when the system fails both the victim and the accused. Paced like the most riveting of thrillers and packed with page-turning twists and turns, this unforgettable book challenges our ideas of memory and judgment while demonstrating the profound nature of human grace and the healing power of forgiveness.
Okay, there it is. And we won't hold her no longer. Jennifer, how you doing today?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing fine. What I want to do, Jennifer, like I said a minute ago, when I talked to you on the phone, you said something, and I agree with you 100%, and you might have heard or you might not have heard. I had already said that right before I even talked to you on the phone to tell you, thank you for being on the show. And we're going to have a great show today. We're going to keep it all love. We're going to keep it about respect. But we also want the knowledge. We also want to know about redemption. We also want to know about where your state of mind was during that whole situation, because you were the one being raped. Nobody knows how that feels if they ain't been through it, to just have something taken from you like it as a woman. That's God's gift. So, I do understand where you're coming from with that situation and your frame of mind. But can you please tell the listeners, and can you tell my panel what you said to me on the phone a minute ago?
I can, and I appreciate you even asking me. What I said to you earlier was, this was not a racial issue. I did not pick out a black man and a white man raped me. A black man raped me. And I've never had racial issues in my life. So when I went to the police department, I told the truth. It was my truth. It's what I thought I had seen. And it was a black man that raped me. And so this has never, ever been a racial issue. And I don't want it turned into a racial issue. It's really more of an issue of human memory and frailties, and how this stuff ever happens to begin with, and then when it happens, how do we fix it? How do we make it better for everybody? And that's what I've tried to do for the last 12 years as I've been working on this, and I really need the listeners to hear that. This was never something. This was not to kill a mockingbird. This was simply human mistake, and it's really important. This is not turned into a white-black issue for me.
Right.
There are racial issues in the system, but that's not what happened to me.
Okay, there it is. So everybody, she's asked me nicely, can we not do that? And if it turns into a racial issue, she won't do the show, and I respect that too, which it's going to be a great show. It's not going to be that, because nobody is going to run off of my show being disrespected, so we're not even going to worry about that. So Jennifer, hey, you in God's hands and you in my hands. You know what I'm saying? You don't even got to worry about that, all right?
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that, and I respect that.
All right. Thank you very much. So I want to say this. Okay, take us back to the night that it happened. This is what I want everybody to do. Now, Jennifer, I have great advice. You have websites that you can go to help your family members, anybody, boyfriends, girlfriends, anybody that's going through something in the legal system. She's ready to help, and that's why she's on the show today. And I just want to tell my whole crew, I want y'all really to listen to the story. We're going to move fast. We're going to move thorough. And you know what? Put y'all's mamas in this position. Put y'all sisters in this position. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to listen to it with an open heart with that, too. And she's going to break it all down, what went on. I know Ronald lost a lot of time out of his life, but she's going to tell you how it happened, how as she was doing the lineup, she was kind of pushed into certain things. So it's a lot going on behind the scenes that y'all don't know that she's going to reveal. So go ahead, Jennifer.
Well, the night that I was attacked, of course, I was sleeping in my bed, and I heard something in my apartment. I woke up to see the top of a person's head beside my mattress, and in a state of confusion, I said, who is that? Who's there? And a man very quickly jumped up on me and straddled my body, and I screamed, and he covered my mouth with a gloved hand and put a knife to my throat and told me to shut up, or he would kill me. And, my first thought was, this has got to be some ridiculous prank. I was in college. I thought, this has got to be a fraternity, something gone wrong. But the reality was, I lived 3 miles off campus, and all I did was study and work, and nobody knew I lived there. So then the next thought was that it had to be someone who was robbing me, and I startled him, and so I thought to myself, and all these things go through your mind very rapidly. Anybody who's ever been in violent trauma knows that the stuff that goes through your mind goes through quickly. I thought, if I offer him my car, everything that I own, he won't kill me. And I pulled my mouth away, and I told him, please, you don't have to hurt me. I'm not going to call the police. You can have my money, my credit card, my car. I don't care. You can take it. And that's when he looked at me and said, I don't want your money. And I knew what was going to happen to me. I knew I was going to be raped. That was very clear. And but what I didn't know was I going to die. And the reality was that there was a really good chance I was going to die. And I remember thoughts going through my mind at that moment that I was going to miss my father, who I love very much, and my mother, and that I wasn't going to have time to tell them all the things I needed to tell them before I died, and that my skin would, this would be the last thing that would touch me. There would be violence and pain, and would I die quickly or would I die slowly? And those are the thoughts that went through my mind at that very second. And then I had this overwhelming impulse, and that was that I would not die there, that I wouldn't allow myself to die laying down, that if there was a way to survive this assault, I would try to figure it out. I was a smart girl. I could figure out a way of surviving, and that when I survived it and I wanted to live, I would memorize everything about him, everything about his face. I would pay attention in those very few seconds. I could glimpse at him, and I would try to ingrain them into my brain as to what his nose or his lips or his eyes looked like. I would try to listen to anything he might say as he started talking to me and saying disgusting things. I would memorize. Everything became important information for me, and I was recording it in my head. After the assault, I tried to tell him that if he would just get off of me and go out of my apartment and drop the knife on my car, that I would let him come back in. And he looked at me very strange, and I knew that I had him. I knew that I had turned the tables, so to speak, that I now I had more power.
Yeah, you was in control.
Yeah, and he looked at me very funny, and he said, "Really?" And I said, "I promise, if you'll just get off of me." And I knew I needed to get him off of me, and I grabbed a blanket and wrapped it around my body so that I could stand near enough to him to figure out how tall he was or how much he weighed or what clothes he was wearing or, if his feet were pigeon-toed or duck-footed or anything became incredibly important because it meant I was going to live.
So, Jennifer, let me jump in a minute. So you almost made him feel like that it was a relationship that was being built on this situation, right? You tricked his mind.
I knew I needed to take
Right.
the violence. I knew I needed to take the anger out because I didn't want to die.
Right.
I didn't want to die. And I knew if I put him down, so to speak, that I had more leverage.
Right. Right. And you know what? Let me ask you this. Was the apartment dark? Was it pitch dark? Was it a little light? Did he have a mask on?
He did not have a mask on. No, and there was a nightlight in my hallway, and then the headboard of my bed was at my window, and I had my blinds shut, but there was like a parking light right outside of my apartment, like 35 feet, that would emit some light. And you know how when you open your eyes in the dark, and it takes you a minute to adjust, but eventually, like after a few minutes, you can make out certain things in the dark. You become, your pupils become, bigger, so you can take in the more, more light. And after I got him off of me, I was able to get him in different places of light. I was able to turn the bathroom light on for a second, telling him I had to go to the bathroom.
Wow.
And then eventually I convinced him to let me go get a drink of water because I knew that he had told me that he had come through the kitchen.
Oh, wow.
And the back door was there, and I thought if I can just get to that back door, I can run.
Right.
And so I told him I needed some water. And he said, "Yeah, make me a drink, baby, and we'll have a party."
Oh, wow. So he was really caught up.
Yeah, and I was able to get into the kitchen, and as soon as I got in there, I turned the light on because I knew if the light was on, he wouldn't come in there. And that gave me about 15 feet or a 5-second head start, and I began to make a lot of noise with the cabinets and the drawers and the ice cubes, throwing them around in the sink as I opened up the door.
Did he stay laying in the bed?
Oh, no. He pretended to drop the knife out of the front door, and he quickly came back in and grabbed me and said, "Let's go back into the bedroom," and I wasn't going to go. That's when I was in the hallway, and that's when I was like, I knew he'd have to kill me. I was never going back in there.
Right.
And that's when I told him, "Can I go to the bathroom first?" And I went in the bathroom, and I started to pray, and trying to figure out how I was going to get out. And that's when I realized he had told me he had come through the kitchen.
Was he aggressive in his rape? You get what I'm trying to say? Give me a level from 1 to 10 because I'm going to go somewhere with this situation.
Well, I mean, I'll have to preface that by telling you the week before I had taken a walk with my sister, and we had talked about what would you do if you ever found yourself in a situation where you were going to be raped. And my sister had said that she would punch and fight and scream and vomit and everything she could. And for some reason, I had remembered hearing somewhere that if you stay calm you stand a better chance of living.
That's right. That's right.
And that's where that calmness came. I remember that conversation came back to me as he had his hand over my mouth. I remember thinking to myself, you have to stay calm.
Right.
Because if I stay calm, I might live, and if I live, you're gonna pay for what you're doing to me.
Okay. And see, that's where I was going with it, because if it was really aggressive and crazy, and how did you keep your composure when it's like, this fool still might kill me out this over with? So that's why I asked you that. And that was perfect. That was a perfect answer.
So, yeah, I mean, my thought was to stay calm and escape. After I escaped, though, he chased me. And then I knew I'd made him angry, and I knew that if he caught me, he would kill me.
Right.
I mean, that was very, very clear that I now had really angered him, and he was behind me somewhere. And I knew he was, because I could see him chasing me.
So that was one of them runs like you was in the Olympics, getting away from her, huh?
Yeah, exactly. And I ran to a house that I didn't know who lived there, but there was a light on in the carport. And my thinking was, if I can get to the light and he starts to kill me under the light, somebody might see it and call the police. And so.
But when you look at him and Ronald Cotton now, Ronald Cotton had an afro at that time.
Yeah, exactly.
This guy didn't.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? How quick, how soon did they catch Ronald Cotton, after that happened to you? Was it within 24 hours? Was it within 48 hours?
No, what happened was, after I helped with a composite sketch, that composite sketch ran in the newspaper. And the newspaper led to phone calls about who the suspect looked like. And one phone call came in from a woman who said the composite sketch looked like a man by the name of Ronald Cotton. And she had said in the phone call that she had seen him around my apartments at 3 o'clock in the morning on July 29th, which is exactly the day and the time I was raped, wearing the exact clothes I had mentioned to the police department.
But
navy blue shirt.
Okay, but let me ask you this. You said she came up with the same exact date, but when that article was in the newspaper, I'm sure it had a date under it when you got raped, right?
But not, yes, exactly.
So he could have been set up by that phone call also, right?
Cogee, he was.
Okay, there it is.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that till after our book was published.
Wow.
When she came to Ronald and said, I just need to tell you that phone call was a typed statement from a police officer in exchange for charges against me, and my son dropped.
Oh, wow. You know what?
One of us knew.
We gonna get into that real quick, but let me go around the board real quick. Let me talk to my panel. I'm gonna go to Alan Man first. What do you want to say to Jennifer? And we're gonna keep it all love and keep it respect. Alan Man.
Well, it's tough. I mean, like Ronald, I know he's got to be just say that. I know I would have been. It's easy to just say this person did this or this person did that, but it's almost like you didn't have anything to really stand on.
Right.
You just kind of assume that, okay, since this person said they saw this person and they fit the description and this and that. I mean, that's kind of hard.
Okay.
I mean, in a way, I understand where you're coming from, because I'm sure you were, just devastated.
Right.
Just, I can't cast any judgment on you. I just wish that you would have really, I guess, paid more attention, but I guess it was kind of hard.
Right. Well, let's do this. Let's do this. Let me finish the interview, because y'all see I'm going deep with this interview with her right now. So a lot of questions are going to be answered. You know what I'm saying? We're going to hold the questions towards the end. So Miss Peaches, chime in real quick, and we got to keep it moving.
Well, I just got to say that I definitely want to hear the whole story, because I know that Jennifer has probably endured a lot of preconceived notions about this situation. And with what she just told us, that a police officer made that, Cogee, that just goes to the. I mean, we've had conversations about this on your show, that it is not always, A and B is not always what you think it is and what you've been told that it is. It is something else, and it equals C, something completely different, and it's just sad. All of the lies.
That's right.
And destruction that have been caused. Oh, for a trade out? I'd like to know how is that police officer and her, Jennifer said, a family member have their charges dropped. I'd like to know what her life is like right now.
Right. Hold on real quick. Big Blaze, come in real quick, y'all, and we got to go.
Right here.
What do you want to say real quick? Okay, well, check us out. We got to keep moving. So, Jennifer, I'm going to go to you. I'm going to go back to you right now. When they had Ronald Cotton in the lineup, when you looked at him, did you see your attacker? Like you said, the one cop was there with you, and even he said in the interview he shouldn't have been there. There's no way he shouldn't have been there because he was too close to the case, and he was kind of luring you in with the whole identifying situation, right?
Right. Well, I mean, there's a couple of things that the listeners need to understand. First of all, this is 1984, and there was some science out about memory, but not a whole lot. And particularly, police officers really didn't want to hear it because they're trying to close cases. They've got this, and I love a lot of police officers, but it only takes a few to make it really bad.
That's right.
They do have kind of a macho cowboy mentality. Don't tell me what to do, little girl, kind of thing. And the reality is they used a photograph of Ronald that had been taken 3 years prior. I didn't know this, of course, but the photo they put in there of Ron in a photo lineup was taken in 1981. And it was chosen specifically because Ronald's afro in 81 was shorter than his afro in 84.
Oh, wow.
And the mugshot in 81 had him in dark blue sleeves, which is what I had said my rapist was wearing.
But they never told you during the time of the lineup that this is from 81.
Oh, no. I didn't even know that until Ronald and I became friends.
Oh, wow.
So none of this is ever told to the victims or witnesses. Absolutely not. And so Ronald's photograph was put in there intentionally because they believed him to be the suspect. And what happens in a lot of these photo lineups is they'll put in the photograph of who they think is the suspect, and then the other photographs that go in the photo lineup don't look a whole lot like the description.
Right.
So therefore, the victim or witness is looking at this, 6-pack or 8-pack or 10-pack.
Right.
And the person that looks the closest is who the police officers think is the suspect.
Because they just want to get the case settled, and they want that under their belt that they solved that crime, right?
Well, and sometimes they actually believe that is the suspect, but that's not good enough.
Right. Without evidence. Right.
You have to have evidence. And there was no evidence at that time that Ronald was the suspect other than the fact that Ronald had got his dates confused.
Right. Well, let's do this. Now we're going to speed forward because we're on a time limit. We're going to speed forward. You in the courtroom, the sentence comes, Ronald's convicted, his life is over basically, and he asked the judge to sing. What did that song do to you? Did you even care?
I was so angry. I was so angry.
That he got to sing?
No, that the truth is, I was angry because he was singing about the love of God. And I thought to myself, how dare you talk about God when you're a rapist?
Okay.
I mean, God doesn't love you.
Right.
He loves me because you're a bad human being. I'm a good human being. That was my, as I tell people often, that was my position of self-righteous, religious position.
Did you ever get to say anything to your attacker in the courtroom, to Ronald?
No, I never. I didn't have to because I testified for 2 days out of the 2 weeks. Mm. I had to I was up there on the stand over and over again talking about it. So I think he knew how I felt about it. But at some point during the show, Cogee, I would really like to go back so I can explain to the listeners because I think it's important. And what I try to do is educate people on how memory becomes contaminated.
Okay, go ahead. This is
all
your time.
Of your listeners are potential jurors.
This is your time. Go ahead.
Well, when I saw the initial picture of Bobby Poole, which was my rapist, in that night of my attack, I really did get a great picture of him in my head. And if the listeners look at the composite sketch versus Bobby Poole's mugshot, is pretty dead on. The problem is Bobby Poole was not in that lineup. So what happened and what we have discovered and what I teach about and what I speak about all over the world is what's called relative judgment. When I went to that photographic lineup, and my last picture in my head, unfortunately, is a composite sketch now. It's what I call transference of memory. It's now become contaminated. The last visual I have is a composite sketch I did. My mind is scanning to find the photograph that most closely resembles the composite sketch. Okay. And in that lineup, that photograph belonged to Ronald Cotton.
Wow.
Because Bobby Poole wasn't there.
Right, I understand.
It's called relative judgment. We do it all the time when we take an SAT test. And once I picked Ronald's photograph out of that lineup, and the police officer said to me, "Good job, that's who we thought it was," it caused what we know is false certainty.
Right.
So all of a sudden in my mind, I got it right. The police affirmed that. And a week later when I went to the physical lineup, the only person that was in the photo lineup and the physical lineup that were the same was Ronald.
Mm.
And this happens all the time.
You're right.
75% of our exonerees, 75% have got false eyewitness ID. And so what I'm so committed to is teaching how contaminated memory happens so that I can teach police departments and judges and district attorneys and public defenders how this stuff happens to begin with, so that we can make the system better and ensure that we're getting the guilty person the first go around, and these innocent men and women don't get caught up in this, because there are just thousands of years of lost lives when we look at it in totality.
Right. How did you feel when you prayed every day that Ronald Cotton would die in prison, and you wanted him to get raped or get molested, to feel the same pain that he put you through? How did you feel when it came back, the DNA, and it wasn't him?
Oh, I don't have words to describe that. I really don't. I mean, I really don't. I can tell you how I felt when Ronald forgave me. I mean...
Okay. Well, let's go there.
When Ronald forgave me, he allowed me to live again. I had been so shut down as a victim for so long. I had lived in my own self-imprisonment, so to speak, of anger and hate and rage and vengeance and revenge and bitterness and everything that you can think of as negative. And when he looked at me and so quickly, with such love and grace and mercy, said, "I forgive you, Jennifer. I forgave you years ago," I remember physically feeling my body almost begin to heal. I could feel the heart begin to heal. And I remember looking in the face of this man that I had prayed to die. And I distinctly remember thinking to myself, "Dear God, this man is teaching me how to live again."
And he lost a lot of his young life.
He lost a third. At that time of our lives, he had lost a third of his life.
At 21.
It was gone.
Wow.
Yeah, it was gone. And the crazy thing, Cogee, is I'm around these exonerees. I was just in New Orleans last week doing a fundraiser for the Innocence Project down there, which is just a nightmare. I mean, New Orleans is a nightmare, if you can imagine. 21 exonerees. Every single one are black men. Every single one. And one of the men there had lost 37 years.
Wow. Let me ask you a question, Jennifer. Let me go there on this just for 1 minute. Our black men are really under fire right now, and we are really being hunted down. And don't get me wrong, some of us, are doing things to put ourselves in that position, but some of us are not. And now that you're seeing how hunted we are, being a part of the system now that tries to save a lot of our black men, men of every color, but let's just say black men. But when you put Ronald through that, it was did you feel like, oh my God, now I kind of see what they mean by, how they are really hunted, even though he was the one, it was a black man that done it to you. But with the mistake being held, you kind of got a feeling of what a lot of us go through. That's the point I'm making.
Well, truthfully, it would take me a few years after that to understand it. I mean, Ronald came out in 95. We began to, reconciliation in 97. But it would probably be around 99, 2000 when I would actually fully understand the magnitude of what was happening. And I made it kind of like my personal mission to read everything I could about the racial issues that we have in the United States, particularly as it relates to African American males. And so it would really take me a few more years, and it would take Ronald and I sitting down together and him telling me what had been said to him during his jail time before prison. What some of the people had said to him about, you're a black guy, you're dating white women, you need to, I mean, basically that's what had happened. Ronald had been a black man dating white women, and God forbid that happens in the South. Yeah. Oh my God.
So do you believe that played a whole big part on
Absolutely.
His conviction with you also, right?
Oh, it was why he was ever became a suspect to begin with.
Okay,
yes.
But let me ask you this, Jennifer. If it was a white man that raped you, would it have been the same outcome, you think?
No, absolutely not. And that's I'm now a lobbyist in the state of North Carolina for the Racial Justice Act.
Okay.
And so I've had the privilege, I suppose, to study race of defendants, race of victims, and how that corresponds in our judicial system. I mean, the reality is a black man commits a crime against a white female is far more severe than if a black man commits a crime against a black female.
You right about that.
Or a white man commits a crime against a black female. And what that says, which makes me sick to my stomach, is that we place a higher value on certain skin color.
You're right.
I know I'm right, that's some of the work I've done in the last few years, is trying to speak out against this.
And that's what I'm doing on this show. I'm bringing that point. That's why I come with these shows so detrimental that people can't believe the titles I'm ready to come with when I come, because somebody's got to stand up for this situation and speak on it and let it be heard. And we need other white people to come in and say, that ain't cool. That ain't cool.
It's horrible. It's horrible. And unfortunately, my children now are not triplet teenagers. They're 22-year-olds. And they're all incredibly progressively thinking, and they all want to be involved in changing the system and changing how we look at each other and sexual orientation and skin color.
Right.
But the reality is, I don't know if we've progressed very far at all in the last 100 years.
No, we ain't.
No, but I still think that we and we don't want to talk about it. Nobody wants to talk about it.
But you know what, Jennifer? I'm gonna tell you why we ain't progressed. Because number one, a lot of black people we don't know the law. When we get hung up, we hung up so bad. Like our last guest said, Gloria said, we so hung up in court fees and we don't have the money to fight, and the court system got more money than us. They come in with high profile attorneys, high profile prosecutors, high profile judges. Hell, you know what I'm saying? You're a sacrifice.
Well, and you know what? The reality is, and it's not just America, it's all over the world.
Right.
But America is where I'm concerned about. The reality is, nobody cares.
Yeah.
Because if you don't look like me, and if you don't go to my golf course,
that's right,
and if you don't live in my gated community,
yeah,
and you don't go to my private school, then I don't see you. And if I don't see you, you don't exist. And if you don't exist, why do I want to get involved?
Right. But see, the thing about it is, I think us as black people, we know that anything can happen in any moment, especially, as you said, the black men that mess with white women. If they get mad and, they trigger off, it could get real bad. You get what I'm saying? So if
I think it's deeper than that, Cogee. I really think it's deeper than that.
Well, it's happening. I mean, it's happening every day. You know what I'm trying to say? Right. So that's what I'm saying. You have to know the law. You have to know to what degree, a magnitude to argue or walk away or do whatever. You really do. But don't get me wrong. All white women ain't like that. They not, where they just try to get you in trouble. You know what I'm saying? I can't just say that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I don't. I hear what you're saying. I don't think it's just white women. I've been involved in a lot of cases where an African American woman gets pissed off at her boyfriend.
Yeah.
And she's seen a composite sketch, and we have one here in Winston-Salem. She gets mad. She calls the police. She goes, my boyfriend said he did it.
No, what I mean by that is that with you and Ronald Cotton, it was already interracial relationship thing that got him hung up. That's what I'm talking
Absolutely.
about. Right.
Absolutely.
Okay. We on the same page, me and you.
Yeah,
we are.
That is without a doubt. That is exactly how he ever became a suspect to begin with. And it really, as I thought that I was, really intelligent and educated woman until Ronald explained to me what had been said to him by a police officer during interrogation. And he said, the officer said, "You think you're Mr. Big Stuff, going around screwing white women." And I looked at Ron. I said, "Please tell me that didn't happen." He says, "No, it really happened."
Well,
and I almost threw up.
So that was the noose around his neck right there when that was said. It was a
wrap.
Yeah. It was a hanging.
Yeah. And you're in Las Vegas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You go down to Mississippi and Louisiana.
Oh, I know.
Dear God.
I know.
I mean, it is like 1850s.
Tennessee, Atlanta, whole lot of places back there.
Oh, Georgia, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's archaic, and I'm trying to get into those states. It's slow and it's hard,
right.
But that's what I'm trying to get into is those states to explain to them, like, look, here's a problem. We got a problem here.
That's right.
And I'm doing the best I can.
I hear you. Well, let's do this. Let's talk about the book real quick because we're down to 5 minutes. And you know what? If you're not doing nothing next week, you really ought to call into the show and be my co-host and stay on the show with me because I'm bringing other people that's been, dismissed from the whole DNA thing.
Yeah.
This could be a great situation if you had time.
Well, next week, I know I'm home next week. I've got to travel this week.
Okay.
But I could try to work it in.
Okay.
On the 15th.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about the book real quick. You and Ronald, y'all in this book together, co-writing, right?
It's co-written. It's written in split narrative, first person. So the reader actually travels with me in my voice and actually experiences those first few hours, the first few days with me, and then a third of the way through, you get to experience Ron's voice and his voice and his journey through the system. Okay. And what we love about it and why we did it this way is because we knew it was important for the reader to be, a woman experiencing rape, to be a black man who has no power and no money going through the system. And then the third part is our voices, and there's that juxtaposition between, our parallel journeys until it literally crashes. And there's the redemption and the love and the forgiveness. And, Ronald, you're right, Ronald is truly, truly an amazing human being.
Yes, he is. Yes,
he is. He really is one of my best friends. We talk and we see each other almost every week. He was at my wedding. He's coming to my daughter's graduation. We love each other. We love each other. Most people who see us together think that we're related or married.
Right. I hear you.
That's how much we love each other.
Right. I hear you.
And the reader gets to experience that with us.
Right. So let me ask you, where can we find this book and how can we get it?
Well, Borders has it. Barnes & Noble is the best place I would tell you to go is Amazon.com because you can get a used one if you got $3 or if you want to buy a new one. That's great too. And we love to come out and sign people's books. And I email every single reader back. Okay. So on the back of the cover, you'll find our email address, and you can email us and ask us questions. And I love to email our readers. And if you want to do a book club meeting, I can Skype in and I can talk to you.
Okay.
It's really incredible.
All right. Well, I want to thank you. We're down a short time. I want to thank you for being on the show again. But I definitely want to get you back in again. Okay?
Well, you just email me and let me know.
I will. My producer, we'll give you a call. She'll give you a call later on today and see how everything work out for you for next week. I want you to just be on, my panel with me, and we'll hear everybody else talk, and then you can join in on what people can do to help change their situation.
Yeah, because we do have to change the system.
Okay, we will. So I want to thank you, Jennifer, for being on today. It's been a very blessed story. I'm glad things turned out great for you and Ronald. And, life can be redeemed,
It can be, and sometimes the journeys don't take us where we think they're going to take us.
Oh, yeah, you're right. So we'll be getting back with you soon, and I thank you, all right?
Yep, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate it.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right. So, everybody, we down a short time. I want to thank my whole team that's on here. How many minutes I got left? Okay, 2 minutes. Let me do this. To my crew real quick, y'all real quick, 20 seconds. Miss Peaches, go ahead.
Can't wait for, part 2, Cogee. What a deep show. Thank you.
Okay. Big Blaze.
Yeah, man. Definitely at a loss of words with this one, man. Definitely at a loss of words. Heart goes out to Ronald, and everybody else who's been wrongly accused is still sitting behind bars.
Okay, there it is. Miss Peaches, tell everybody who was on the show today real quick.
Okay, we had Miss Gloria Killian, we had Mr. Ronald Cotton, Miss Jennifer Thompson-Cannino, and the whole panel.
Okay, there it is. So, hey, I'm down to 1 minute. Everybody, this was a deep show. I'm working on having part 2 next week because I got the guys that's going to be able to come on. They wasn't able. Only Ronald was able to make it today. Name of the show, hey, I've been falsely accused, and y'all heard the stories today. I just want you to know this can happen to anybody. You need to know about the law. You need to know about your rights for DNA. And you also need to have people 100% behind you that's going to stick with you, help you write the letters, and help you try to work this situation out. This is something that's happening every day. Keep listening to the news, watching the newspapers, and kind of stay up on these stories to know nobody's immune to it, all right? So, hey, on behalf of Conversations with Cogee, I want to thank y'all for giving me this minute to bring y'all this show and try to shine light on something great. And we'll be getting back with y'all next week. Don't miss the show. It's going to be even more powerful because that's how I bring it, baby, with the power of God. So much love to y'all. Be careful out there. And until next week, much love, baby.